Good afternoon. Welcome to the FTD University webinar titled Creating Independent Employees. Today, you will learn how to create independent employees by having a well-written employee handbook with clear goals and expectations. FTD Education Consultant Ann Jordan AIFD will be leading this informative webinar. Ann has nearly 30 years of retail floral experience, which includes owning her own shop in rural Maine for many years. As an active member and past president of the American Institute of Floral Designers, she has impacted the floral industry in many significant ways. Ann has also been recognized in her community as a business leader, being nominated for the Maine Small Business of the Year in 2004. Once Ann is finished with her presentation, we will open the webinar up for questions. If you have a question, simply type it in the question box on the upper right side of your screen. We will take the questions in the order they are received. Please feel free to submit your questions during the presentation, and we will hold them until the Q&A portion of the webinar. So without further ado, I would like to turn the call over to Ann to begin the webinar. Ann?
Hey, thanks, Janet, and thanks for joining us today. It's a really important topic, creating independent employees. And because I work with so many different florists in other capacities, such as FTD Boot Camp and some consulting that I do, I realize that a lot of people don't have certain documents in order in order to have employees that can be independent. It's going to be a little bit of work for everybody, but let's see what that entails. It's one of my favorite quotes. I tend to leave quotes all around for me, and I find it to be very motivating. And this one, we've heard this, but I never really knew that it was attributed to Abraham Lincoln. Things may come to those who wait, but only those things that are left by the people that hustle. And I think getting and keeping great employees is something that's super important. And if we have to hustle to do it, it's worth it, because if we find well-rounded employees, they're really going to be the wind in our sails rather than the weight in our tails, as I've heard it said. And so, before we hire, what do we need to do before we hire? Now, some of you may be on this call because you maybe want to perfect who you have now on your team, or maybe you're going to be adding people to your team. And some people have said to me that they're really just trying to work on some possible bad habits that are already embedded in their current workplace, in their current environment. And so we'll make some suggestions on all of these things. But let's take the assumption that you might be hiring or considering hiring. Now, first of all, what you want to do is make sure you know what you can afford. Now, at FTD Bootcamp, we talk about this at great length. Most florists budget for payroll, and this includes owner and managers, between 32% and 36% of gross sales. And so where you fall in that and what you can afford to do is going to be based on that. So if you know that number, you'll know what you can afford. Now, what you'll pay and what type of benefits. A lot of smaller shops might not be able to offer benefits that larger shops can. But it's something that you're going to have to know during the interview process to be fair to people. You need to know if you're going to be hiring full-time people or part-time people. Where I'm finding the economy just isn't as great as it might be in some other areas, they tend to hire more part-time people, and then they have the flexibility of letting people go. They haven't promised 40 hours a week, and a lot of places in the United States that are on the economies coming up, certain parts of the United States that are the economy's really on screech, such as North Dakota and parts of Texas. The economy is doing really well. They're hiring all the full-time people they can. So what do you need on full-time or part-time? What position, obviously, are you hiring? Now, I know a lot of shops might not separate designers or flower arrangers from sales staff or design support staff, delivery, or something in administrative. Maybe everybody does everything. And we suggest to you that if you can, separate these roles, sales and design in particular, because not every designer is great at sales, and not everybody from sales is going to be great at design. So you need to find people's real strong suits and make sure that they're in that category where they can shine and be great employees for you. particularly in sales. If you find somebody that is just delightful with customers and really connects with people well and can sell, you really want to make sure that that's where they are. At FTD Bootcamp, we teach what's called the anatomy of a sale, and it's from picking up the phone or waiting on the customer when they walk through the door right to the close of the sale, a step-by-step process. And what we've learned is that the people that go back to their shops and they actually do the anatomy of a sale, step-by-step process, and make it an absolute mandatory way that sales are made, are really generating higher ticket sales and more of them. We all want that, don't we? So more on that at boot camp. Be prepared. They're giving your time. You want to make sure that you're going to give them your time. And so you want to be prepared for everything. Now, these are the things that are going to create independent employees for you. And if you don't have these things in order right now, then you've got some work cut out for you. First is an orientation. And we have a copy of an orientation on FTD University. More about that a little bit later. But what an orientation would be a list of what you would expect people to do on their very first day, what you expect people to learn and do within the first week, within the first month, the first couple of months, and then what we have on FTD University, a little flyer that you can download and copy, is just an example. And so another thing would be a job description. You can call it a responsibility list if you'd rather. Job description does sound kind of old-fashioned, doesn't it? But it should be everything that you expect for that designer, sales staff, delivery driver, whatever you're hiring for. And if you don't have that document in order right now, maybe it's time to delegate that to the people that have those positions. What do they do, and what is expected of them in a daily basis and a weekly basis? So if it's not done, there you go. Delegate that and get that job done. A bigger one is going to be the employee manual, policy and procedure manual, a price guide, and an annual calendar. And so we'll talk about those a little bit longer. So these are the documents that are going to have to be in place. How are you going to find the right person? Oh, geez. Optimism is the best way to see life, isn't it? And so now we're finding a lot of people using Craigslist, the way of placing ads in the newspaper and that sort of thing just don't seem to bring people in. We're looking for social media. And social media is kind of a demographic thing. If you're looking for younger people, they're using Instagram. Folks that are probably between 30 and in their 50s are using Facebook. LinkedIn is a place that you're going to find more people probably looking for jobs. It tends to be more business-oriented than the other ones that are more social. And so we're using those things for hiring. And I've found that a lot of people are doing really great with particularly Craigslist. Word of mouth, that's one of the best things because you have a little bit more confidence in that person that you might consider hiring if you have a recommendation, maybe from a customer or another coworker. Perhaps they're already a customer. Sometimes people just love the flowers and love coming into the flower shop, and if they're enthusiastic and willing, maybe that would be a good choice. Wholesalers tend to know who might be looking for a job. Maybe they're working in another store and willing to make a move. So calling your wholesalers might be a way to see if there are people that want to make a move and maybe make a move to you. Newsletters are a great way. State florist associations have newsletters. AIFD has newsletters. A lot of associations do that are floral related. You can run an ad in the newsletters, and that's going to be a great target for you because it's going to go directly out into the floral industry. And then there's always this one, hiring somebody that just happens to come into the flower shop, and we have absolutely all heard this. Every single one of us, I've heard it. I've always wanted to work in a flower shop. It must be fun to work in a flower shop. Or they come in and they just say, it smells so good in here. I would love to work here. Have you all heard that? And I bet you have. I bet you're all shaking your head yes right now that you've heard that. And there's nothing wrong with capturing that person. You could simply say, well, are you looking for a job? Because I've got to tell you, I've trained so many florists, and I usually would start with that ball of energy that comes into the flower shop that just has that dynamic personality. I always liked the people that I hired, I could say a little on the quirky side, because my customers, I wanted them always to be delighted. So I wanted somebody that was that enthusiastic. And so if you've heard that in the flower shop, that they've always wanted to work for you, what I say is that they saw something in you before you saw something in them. And so that's going to be a plus, I would think. What do employees want? Well, if you look down this list of items, do they want full appreciation for a job well done, feeling in on things, sympathetic help on personal matters, job security, good wages, interesting work, promotion and growth opportunities, personal loyalty to workers or good working conditions, and finally, tactful discipline. Now, if you just look down that list and pick your top 3, what would they be? When we use this in FTD Boot Camp, we find that it's absolutely all over the place. And if you look at this, I'm assuming that there are a lot of managers, maybe head designers and shop owners on this webinar. Then usually managers and shop owners feel that good wages, job security, and promotion and growth opportunities are number 1, 2, and 3. When if you ask employees what they want, this is actually in the order that employees want. So if full appreciation for a job well done is number 1, and you're thinking in your head that it's always good wages and job security, then you need to think of this a little bit differently. The one that always seems to amaze me is the feeling in on things. Well, if you think about it, if you want to generate independent employees, they want to be involved. And so if getting them involved is starting to work on some of these documents, such as employee manuals, job descriptions, and orientations, then there you go. They can feel in on things because they can help you tackle some of these tasks. Now, I've been teaching business workshops for FTD since, I think the late 90s, and sympathetic help on personal matters always was about number 8 or number 9 on this list, and here it is up number 3 on this list of what employees want. And if you think about it, the reason why is because who is in the workplace? When the oops, I'm so sorry.
And
yeah,
on that, choose the bottom section on that one, the bottom one, and it'll go away. It'll stay away. It won't come back for you anymore. The next time it pops up. Yeah. Just pick that bottom option.
Okay.
That'll tell it not to change color.
Is that coming up?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, because I thought it was only on my screen. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, where was I? Okay, so who's coming back into the workforce is maybe folks that thought they could afford to retire, but they can't quite retire yet, so they're coming back into the workforce. Maybe you've noticed that. Maybe you've noticed that moms that thought they might stay home are needing to work part-time, and so they're going to need a little bit more help with sympathetic help with personal matters. And then another one is the younger generation. They've been raised a little bit differently than generations before them, and we're finding that. So down here, okay. I'm so sorry, I didn't know that kept coming up. What do I have here now? I don't know why that keeps coming up. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, we need to be thinking about that, and there that is, back up there on number 3 for what employees are looking for. The interview. You are responsible to the energy you bring to this place. So if you can be very energetic, and really have take the time to know that you're going to sit and talk to these people and don't feel rushed, then they're going to feed on that energy that you're going to be able to bring to the interview. And here's the thing with that is any way you can convey within the interview, right from the get-go, that everything about what you do within your flower shop is about the very best service and the very best quality of product. Any way you can interject that. So they need to, I don't know what's going on with all that. Did you see that one too? Any way you can interject those things through the interview, best quality of service and best quality of product. And you're going to surround yourself with those that are on the same mission as you. And don't they look like they're on a mission? Here's the thing. If within every dollar that you take into the store, you rip off about a third of it, it's going to your payroll staff to pay your staff, you need to really make sure that everybody is on the same mission as you. So be prepared. You're going to give them all the time that is needed, and listen more than you talk. Always ask open-ended questions. You don't want to ask questions that they can quickly say yes or no to. You want them to, you want to hear them speak. You want to hear their grammar. You want to hear the descriptive words that they use. And so questions such as this: do you consider yourself an independent worker?
And you want to click that bottom one that says keep the current color scheme.
I did the last time and it popped up another box, but if it pops up again.
Yeah, you click the very bottom, but just click that one.
Bottom. All right, so sorry about that. What is your best customer service experience, and why do you want to work here? And this is a great tip. I just read this online, was to use Skype if you're really busy for an interview, that you'd be able to use Skype, and that would also show you that they're in tune with technology. Can you easily describe your brand, image, and culture of your flower shop? This is really important. And if you come to boot camp, we spend one whole morning on branding your flower shop, and it's very important. But if you, another source to learn more about branding is going to the FTD University, and I'll talk to you more about that in a minute. And there's a...
Don't click that right above. Keep the color scheme. There you go.
All right. Ta-da. Well, hopefully that won't come back again. But what I was saying is on FTD University, there's a series there by Randy Wooten, and it's about branding, and that's something that you can pull up in your office and sit and watch that. And so after you watch Randy's program, then maybe you can would have enough information to come up with a statement, just a quick statement that would describe your brand and your image and the culture of your flower shop. And if that's something that you can do within the interview, that would give them an idea of who you are and all about you. Bill Gates says, I always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because he will find an easy way to do it. Well, don't know if that's true. Never tried that, but why not? This is really important. Never, ever overpromise. Sometimes people come in and we're so impressed by their ability that we might be tempted to offer things that it's going to be hard for us to really fulfill, such as wages, the ability to move up. A lot of shops just don't have that. They might be able to switch somebody from design to sales or sales to design, but most flower shops, there's really not that ability to move up. For designers, sometimes it's maybe becoming a professional bridal consultant or maybe working with events. That might be considered moving up. But be really honest about that. Benefits. You should really be able to clearly state what they would be getting for benefits. If it's insurances, if it's vacation, if it's discounts, what precisely is it that you're offering them? And time off. How much time off that's either vacation or sick days or days that they could have non-paid days off. It's just as important as this is clear expectations. How you feel about customer service should be identified totally. Selling skills. At FTD Boot Camp, we do the anatomy of a sale, and it's from beginning to end on how every sale should be handled. And the folks that are absolutely doing that are finding that if one person is responsible for all of the selling skills, and so it's one person in the store that's very good at selling, then trains everybody to sell until they're very comfortable with the anatomy of a sale. For designers, this was always a pet peeve of mine when I had a flower shop, and if I hired designers that maybe came from other shops with bad habits. Bad habits might be being slow at the design bench, or maybe being messy, or maybe a lot of dump or waste. And so productivity and speed is extremely important to me. And so how do your designers feel about it? National average for designers is they can design 4 arrangements an hour and 6 on a holiday. And I'll tell you what, I'm in an awful lot of flower shops, and I see what's in coolers. And most everything I see in a traditional florist cooler, I'm saying they can mostly be done in 6 to 8 minutes flat. And so however you feel about that, you need to be upfront with your designers right away that you expect productivity and speed. Money is made or lost at the design bench, in my opinion, in most flower shops. And so however you feel about that, make sure you're upfront about that with whomever you're hiring. Commitment to quality. We're finding out with some studies that we research for FTD Boot Camp that quality of product is more important to most people that buy flowers than anything else. And so commitment to quality might come into play with perhaps care and handling and where you're buying your flowers from. And so the commitment to quality that's important to you, you want to relay that message to this person that you're considering hiring. Being a team player, this is so important. If you get people in that are going to rock the boat and maybe change things and change the environment of the flower shop because of attitude, that's one thing that you really have to nip in the bud. And the way I do this with a new hire is I usually know within a week, 2 weeks, how their attitude is going to play out and how they're going to fit within my team. And I'll just suggest to them that I'll give them a 30-day trial and see how they fit. And if I get the least bit notion that they have an attitude that isn't what I want, I just won't be stubborn. I've learned the hard way not to keep them and to let them go and find somebody that has that attitude that's going to see you through the holidays, that's positive and delightful. Let them know that holidays are mandatory. This is something that sometimes people come in and maybe they don't have the expectation, if they haven't worked in a flower shop before, about how hard we work for the holidays and how long the hours potentially can be. And so you want to set that expectation too, that it's going to be a lot of work when the holidays roll around. Use of technology and social media. Some older people might not be as savvy about technology and social media, but it's a mainstay in marketing and how we run our flower shops right now. If they're not comfortable and can't get comfortable with it, you know, that's something you're going to have to consider, that maybe they're not a right match for you, because it is the way business is done now. When to expect long hours. If you know prom season, wedding season, of course when you have weddings and events, they can be on your shop's calendar and they'll know well ahead of time that those are days that you're going to expect them to be there and to be loyal to you. Clear expectations about education and certifications. For me, it was very important to me that we went to our state florist association programs. When FTD is sponsoring designers within your area, that we would be there. And it was mandatory for my staff that they went to at least 2 educational programs a year. Well, now with FTD University, that we'll talk about in a little bit, you don't even have to go so much to programs. You can sit in front of your computer in your office and watch a lot of really dynamic educational opportunities. So more about that in just a minute. Certifications were important to me too. I wanted to make sure that my staff all had certifications. I was really fortunate because Maine State Florists and Growers Association had 2 levels of certification. AIFD, the American Institute of Floral Designers, is now certifying designers. So when you come to evaluation with AIFD, you can have, hopefully, your AIFD or a certification for floristry. And so if that's important to you, testing maybe for that. This year it is in Chicago early in July. Next year our symposium is in Denver, Colorado, and that's where we will be testing. And so if certifications are important to you, and I hope they are, check your State Florist Association and then also with AIFD. This is something I have to remind myself all the time. I've learned that people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but people will never ever forget how you made them feel. So within this interview process, if you can make them really want to work hard for you, if you can explain who you are, you can explain who you're all about, you have an orientation, and you have this employee manual that they can go home with and review, you will come across as being very, very professional, and they'll be excited to come on board with you and work with you. Now, are you a boss or a leader? And if you're a boss, if you're a leader, whichever you consider yourself, it's a tough job. You have a lot to balance. And when everything's in sync and you're leading people in a way that they're comfortable, then you're doing a good job. But sometimes we have to realize that it is such a tough job. And I know when I first had staff, I was probably more of a boss than I was a leader, and I had to turn my personal attitude around quite quickly. And so there's more on the FTD University about this. We'll have a flyer there for you to read the whole document. But it's one you've maybe heard before. But bosses tend to depend on authority, where a leader is going to depend on goodwill. I want to think about that. Bosses tend to fix the blame for a breakdown, where a leader tends to just go fix the breakdown. Bosses tend to say go, and a leader tends to say let's go. And so there's more of that on the FTD University. If that's something that you want to think about for yourself or for your management, you can download that and read through that. Bear in mind this, 65% of people don't quit the company, they quit the boss. And so if someone shows you who they are, always believe them the first time. And that's one that I used to get really stubborn, thinking, well, I hired them, I can change their bad habits, I can make them fit in. And sometimes you just can't. If people show that they're either messy or they come in late, and if you agree that you give them a 30-day trial and you start to see these habits emerge, you really have to consider letting them go and not investing a whole lot of time into these people, because they're showing you something. They're telling you something. They're showing you their true habits. And so the first time somebody's late, the first time somebody breaks policy, I have them come into my office and say, gee, you know, we've really reviewed this. I've given you the manual. I want you to know this is something that makes my business tick. This is something that allows me to run a company a certain way. I have to know. I have to be assured that you are on board with these things. Attributes of a boss or a leader, I mentioned a few of them, but one of my favorites is a boss says I and a leader says we. Now, if you're willing, well, not if you're willing, but if you do pay in wages 32 to 36% of gross dollars, that's a lot of money in payroll. But look at this number. 68% of people that are going to leave a company because of treatment they received by an employee. So this is something that if you do notice that you've hired somebody that does not have the customer service skills that you need them to have, if they have a little bit of an edge about them, think of that. Is it enough of an edge where a customer would actually leave your company? So think about that. You want to think about what was the reason why you left a company and you won't go back there anymore. You won't buy coffee at that coffee shop anymore. You're not going to get your tires changed at that garage anymore. Usually it's because of treatment that you received. You're going to go where you're treated the best. How to be happy at work. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. I love this. This is your brain on joy. Well, just choose to be happy. If you're owners and managers and those people that are the shop cheerleaders, you want to make sure that they're working with your new hire so that they know that it's a happy place to work. Make friends at work. It's a great thing to do. Maybe once a week is pizza day, and then maybe there's another day that's bagels in the morning or muffins in the morning. It seems to be that when we dine together, when we commune together, we connect. Another great thing is birthdays. Make sure you're celebrating people's birthdays. You could have potluck. If everybody brings a dish in, then they're all involved, and that's how they connect. And they start to trust each other when they feel connected to one another. So make friends with the people that you work with. Choose the work that you love. I think most of us can agree that we all love what we do. Most florists do. Accept challenges. I know that's a great one for me. I'm happy when I'm just pushed a little bit, when I've accepted a challenge, because accomplishing things is something that does make me happy. Make others smile. If you look at somebody, you just say something off the cuff and you put a smile on their face, that's all people want sometimes. Be grateful. I love that one. I love to be grateful. First thing I wake up in the morning, I want to be grateful. And so let them know that they're doing a good job and you're thankful that they're there working really hard for you. As we said, people want to feel in on things and they want full appreciation for a job well done, and that's not going to cost you a dime. Avoid negativity. Avoid negativity at all costs. If you're finding that people within your staff, if you have staff that's been around for a while and maybe there's some negativity going on, you've got to find a way to turn that into something positive, especially when new people are coming in. They want to know that they're going to work in a place that's very positive. We're going to ask a lot of them, particularly for the holidays. So we want to make sure that they know that they're in a place where they're going to be able to love their job. Make commitments that you know you can accomplish. I think we all know that. We wake up in the morning and we might write our to-do list, and nothing makes me happier than ticking those things off my to-do list. We all do that. Sometimes I do something that's not on the list. I'll add it just so that I can cross it off. Now here's the part that's going to be maybe a challenge, but now the next holiday isn't until fall, so we've got some time that maybe this summer we can work on these things. So here we go. First is the orientation. What you're going to expect day 1, week 1, week 2, in the first month, 90 days, and within the first year. That's what you are going to consider writing up for every position that you're going to hire. Job descriptions or responsibility lists. Remember, this is as easily done as asking the folks that have those jobs right now to write that up for you. This should be written very, very clearly, exactly what you expect. So that's the old-fashioned who, what, where, and by when. You want that created for your sales staff, your design staff, your delivery staff, management. Oh, this is one of the best tools the industry has, and I think it's the best kept secret too. I hope you've been on ftdi.com, FTD University. If you haven't, here's the heading for it. From there, you can also get to FTD University online. And what you're going to find there is all the educational materials from, gosh, some of them go back even 10 years, some really great programs, main stage programs that we videoed on selling skills. There's one there that I've watched recently on generating more commercial sales. And so you can go through all of these tabs and find out what's there for you. FTD University Online has courses there where you can put a new hire in front of a computer and they can learn selling skills, how to take an order, care and handling and processing of flowers. And it actually has a checkoff sheet so as you can track them and see where they are in their progression to get through all of the different things that are on that part of this website. So if you go through every single one of these tabs, you're going to find out what's there for you. Mercury Training, the education calendar, where you can go and see when FTD is in your area and what type of program they might be presenting there. There's FTD Boot Camp. We have one coming up the 1st of August. Please come join us. It's one of my favorite things that we do at FTD. It's right at FTD. We cover marketing, weddings, social media. We work a lot with branding. And then in the afternoon is design session. We keep the class very intimate and very small. Usually classes range about 12 to 15 people, and we try to cap it at about that so that everybody has a really good experience. We do a lot with roundtables. It's been popular, and so now we have people that would love to come back. So we have FTD Reboot, and that will be launched for the first time in October. And so that's for the alumni of Boot Camp. They're welcome to come back to Reboot, where we will recharge your batteries and learn more about trends and focus on training designers and generating commercial sales. And so please go through this university, find what's on there, and I bet that if you're having trouble with selling skills or training designers or a lot of these other topics, that they could be answered for you right there, and you can plop your employees right in front of the screen and train them that way. And best of all, you can track it. You can see what they've done and what they still need to do. So if you haven't used if you haven't gone to ftdi.com, FTD University, it's part of your membership. This is for you. This is something that's offered for FTD florists only. Employee manual. Employee manual is extremely important, and if you do not have this document, this one's probably, it's going to take you a while to put it together, or you can cheat like I do. And I'm always looking out to the industry to find out what's out there for me already so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if you're a member, and you should be, of SAF, the Society of American Florists, you can go onto their website and download an employee manual, and you can insert the information and the demographics that are important to you. And so that's an easy way to do it. You'd have it done right away. Then, of course, if you have it reviewed by your lawyer to make sure that you're covering all of your state laws and federal laws. Within employee manual, you want to make sure that you're going to discuss anything about your training, education, and certifications. One that was always important to me was issuing and reissuing tools. I know when I hired designers, I gave them beautiful tools, and what would happen if they lost them, because I replaced an awful lot of tools. Compensation policies, work hours, all the benefits that you might offer. Then about conduct. So are there things that you are very specific about? Dress code or tardiness or outside employment. That was important to me too. If I hired a designer and trained a designer, I wanted to make sure that they weren't doing weddings and events on the side. And so that might be something that would have to be in your employee manual. Maybe there would be things about cell phone use. that tends to be a problem. We talk about that quite a bit with a lot of florists that I work with. And so all of that would be covered in the employee manual. Policy and procedure manual, this is going to be an enormous document. And the difference between the two is this is more shop related, not employee related. So the topics that would be covered in the policy and procedure manual, I've placed an index on FTD University for you. So if you can grab that document, it's on Word, and then you can just put your own descriptions that suit you. But I've tried to come up with everything that might be considered policy. So this would be things like care and handling should have a policy, how complaints are handled, certainly credits and returns, customer service policy, discounts, donations, how you handle your wire service transactions, maybe about your packaging. My branding was very important to me, so it was policy exactly how I wanted my packaging to be done. Maybe something like power outage. I know that was something that we referred to, as soon as thunder, we could hear thunder rolling, because if the system went down, what exactly did we need to do to be right back online? Maybe things like selling skills, or maybe something about things that are tax exempt. Now, here's the thing about the policy and procedure manual. This is going to sound like such dry matter to you, but this is where independence for shop owners and managers lie. When I work with florists and I watch what's going on, I'm seeing shop owners, head designers, and managers that are interrupted constantly. They're interrupted because their staff doesn't know how much something costs, or they don't know what the policy is for recycling or whatever the topic might be. And so without a source, without a tool for these people to be independent, this shop owner and manager is going to continue to be interrupted all the time. And so when I'm working with these managers and they're just exhausted, and I watch them, I said, I would be exhausted too if I were you, because you have no documentation. You have to be in the flower shop all the time. Your chances are for getting time away to recharge your battery so you can come back and be a better leader for these wonderful people that you hired. You're not going to get that unless all these things are in place. Here's a true story. When I had a very busy flower shop, I left for a whole summer. I left for 2 months with my kids. They were 17 and 15 years old, and I knew my days with them as, being a tight family. They were going to go away to college, and I wanted time with them. I left my shop in the end of June and didn't come back till school started, and I never called my shop once, and they never called me. The reason why I had that freedom is because I had all this documentation, and they knew what to do with anything that could happen within that flower shop. It was wonderful for me. I hired and trained the right people, and everything within this program about how to have independent employees is exactly what I did. And it's hard for me to talk about myself, but I'm proud of my success, and I'm proud of what I was able to do to create employees that were very, very loyal to me. And so this whole program is going to be on the FTD University, so if these documents can help you out, I surely hope they will. Price guide. Interruptions constantly for managers, and particularly about things that should be documented. If you have in-house specials, everything about them, size, the price, a description of them, a picture of them. If you have in-house specials, everything about them should be in a manual. Everything about the wire service, but wire service fees, supply prices, particularly in rural areas. We have a lot of do-it-yourselfers, and at Christmas time and in fall, everybody gets a little bit of Pinterest happy, and they want to create their own things, well, they're going to come into the flower shop and look for those things that Pinterest is suggesting that they use with their creations. And so how much are your Coe wired picks? How much is your wire and glue sticks and all of that stuff? Because eventually people are going to come in and want to buy some of that stuff, and you're going to want to sell it. How much is it? Plant prices, holiday prices, labor rates, setup charges, rental fees, and about how you do your markups and your pricing strategies. We'll share all of that so that you're going to generate independent employees. In closing, I would just like to say to you that one of my favorite business books is The Pursuit of Wow. Tom Peters is a wonderful writer. I have most of his books. And he states that the people who will survive will be driven to do it right all the time for the customer, no matter what. And I think if we all post that in our flower shops and we live and breathe it ourselves, that our hirees, the people that work for us and the people that we're going to hire are going to know that it's going to be within our attitudes that we're really going to service that customer wonderfully. Remember, it's about quality of product and customer service. That's what we're driven for. Remember, don't pretend to be in business. You are in business. And these tools are exactly what you're going to have in place so that your employees are going to feel comfortable about their job. They're going to know that you are very professional and they are working in the right place. I hope that this has been beneficial for you. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
All righty, Ann, thank you so much for sharing a lot of great information with us today. We, of course, are now open for questions. So if anyone has a question, simply type it in the question box on the upper right side of your screen, and we'll take the questions in the orders that they are received. And we do have a question from Joe. He said he doesn't have a lot of time to train his staff, and what do you suggest?
Yeah, and Joe, you're not alone. I think everybody is probably thinking the same thing. A lot of shops that I've been in recently, they really are trying to do more with less staff, and they're trying to keep their budget pretty tight, and so cutting payroll dollars may be part of that, and so they're themselves working so much. And so the very first thing that I would suggest is to go back to the FTD University. I would suggest that you look at FTD University and see how much is on there. So if, Joe, you're having a problem with training people and their source was there for you to just have them sit 20 minutes a day in front of a computer to fully train them, that's going to be a great tool for you. This is also a great tool when we're bringing in just a handful of people to help us get through the holiday. And if they could come in and you know they're going to be processing flowers, that they could sit in front of that and learn how to process flowers. And if you watch it first and approve of it, maybe you tweak it and use it a little bit differently, but it's a source that's right there for you. I'm always looking for things that are already there so I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. So that would be definitely where what I would do. Also, calling your wholesale houses. Are they having programs? Check the calendar at FTD University and see if there's any programs coming your way where they can see a main stage program. I hope that's helpful for you, Joe.
All right, we've got a question from Susie. She is asking, what's the best way to choose a person who is both customer-friendly and design-talented for those who run very small shops?
Yeah, right. So now we're looking for that person that can absolutely do it all, right? I'm telling you, and if you could have the opportunity to come to boot camp, we work through this very, very question. I personally hire for sales first. I believe most designs that I see in traditional flower shops can be taught quite easily. And we're talking about things that, as you as a shop owner are going to make that arrangement, and they're going to be flower arrangers and mass produce them. Sales is, and I get in trouble when I say this, and I hope you'll take it in the light that I mean it in. Sales to me is more important than design, because if you can't sell it, you're never going to have the opportunity to design it. Hire that person that connects with people first. If you can train them to be designers too, that's great. If you're enthusiastic and you have your in-house specials all planned, so you know what your summer specials are, and you're going to train them to mass produce those, it's hard to find that whole ball of wax that we want. But if you can train it enthusiastically, if they're, remember, people want to feel in on things. And so if they're already great salespeople, then you're bringing them in to train them on design, and they help you come up with your summer specials. Maybe you have 4 specials for the entire summer, and they could be thinking about what they might be creating for fall. Then they're feeling in on things. If they're feeling in on things, they're helping you generate those arrangements that are going to be sold all summer long, then they're going to sell them for you. And so if you can connect the two that way, they're selling the arrangements that they're helping you to create, and they can sell them and mass produce them as well. It's hard to find that one person that is that total package. Shops that segregate things, they have sales staff and design staff, are going to have it a lot easier than the small shops that are looking for that person that has it all. And so if you're noticing that they can't be that person for you, don't get stubborn, because if you really need that person to be all of that, you have a little bit more work to find it. And if you find that they don't fit that role, maybe consider just that 30 days that you're going to try them on for size. Usually you're going to know within 2 weeks if they're going to be able to handle all of that designing and selling. But please take sales very, very seriously, that you can watch for them to connect, really, really connect with your clients. And I always use the word delightful. I use that word for myself. I wanted my staff to be delightful with the customers. Who doesn't want to be treated delightfully by staff? Because I think design, as much as I love it, I truly do, I think that landing that person that can really sell for you is the most important. Anything else?
All right. It looks like that might be the only couple of questions that we've had so far. So, of course, we've got on the email address on the screen, so if anybody has any questions afterwards, certainly feel free to send it to education@ftdi.com, and we can make sure Ann answers that for you. And, of course, the web address, where Ann's already mentioned multiple handouts that she has available. I think there's 5 handouts that are available there at ftdi.com in the webinar materials section. And then, of course, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. So
yes, thank you.
Yep. If you missed a portion of this webinar or you'd like to view it again, a replay of the recording will be available at FTD University online later this week. And the webinar materials are always available there, so you can certainly go get those. And then we, of course, will be sending everybody a brief survey to gather your feedback on today's webinar. So please, we would ask that you would take a couple of minutes to complete the survey to help us improve future webinars and other education programs for you. Our next FTD webinar is scheduled for Tuesday, August 19th. FTD Education Consultant J. Keith White, AIFD, will share his expertise for holiday merchandising and show us how to take our displays from elementary to effective to increase our holiday sales. The registration is already available at ftdi.com, so be sure to register as soon as possible to reserve your spot. Along with this, FTD is holding the 3rd annual FTD Makeover Magic Contest in conjunction with Keith's webinar in August. Details and the official contest rules can be found at ftdi.com/makeover. Again, thank you, Ann, for showing us how to generate powerful and independent employees. And this, of course, concludes FTD's webinar, Creating Independent Employees. Thank you.
Thank you.